difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The colder it gets, the longer the hair gets.
Now, you know, on a broad line, this is what I use, these long quills.
For your side work?
Yeah. Or broad line on motorcycle fenders, like on the original Harleys and stuff, where they got the one great big line about a ½ inch wide.
Yeah.
This is what I use for them. These work super for that. And these are available. These long quills. This ain't a Nashville. That's a synthetic. Yeah, great long quills. You can get these in all different, you can get them in real fine ones. And actually, if worse comes to worse, you can get by with one of these almost as a striper. If the lines ain't too long. Supposing you wanted to stripe something like, say, a square box.
Yeah.
This would work fine for that. Where the lines would only be maybe 8 inches long or something like that.
Is that what most people call a French liner?
I just always call them long quills.
Now what about those little boxes in the middle there? What's he good to get?
Well, that's where he always kept his chalk and his X-Acto knives and his that's where he kept all his stuff. He had all his X-Acto knives. He got one little trick knife here. He used this for gold leaf trimming. And it holds a little, beautiful little knife. You put a piece of razor blade in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to use that to trim the letters off in gold leaf. See, to make the bottoms real square?
Yeah.
On the glass. And glass gold leaf work. He just stroked clear through the layout. Okay? Then come over later with this and go zip, 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 zip.
Okay.
And scrape it off the glass after it was set. Then he put his outline on. That way the bottoms are all just absolutely square. And the tops, that's how he did it. Working on the glass. Then they use a whole bunch of industrial knives and stuff like that. Here's a new knife they got out that's really neat. You just push it out and bust a piece off it off. Have you seen these? These are really neat. This one's used up. You just push it out there, and this way you got a whole thing that's full of blades, and you just bust it off and you got a new blade. Trick.
You want to do a side?
You know, I had a hellacious hard time learning gold leaf. And
Did he teach it to you?
No, again, he would always say, you'll learn it, you'll learn it, you'll learn it. Only thing he ever said to me, but it did help, he says, did you get all the lard oil out of your brush? He says, you got to get it all out.
It keeps it
If you mix the lard oil in the it gets in the size, it does the size in. You got to have a clean brush. And you know something, I wasn't doing it. I wasn't cleaning all the oil out of the brush because you really don't need to. Gold leaf, you do. It took me about 5 years, you know, just to do a passable job. I was so frustrated I was going crazy. And now they don't make the size anymore that I used.
Well, the gelatin size?
No, I never got on that glass good at all. You mix every batch up at a heat. My dad had a little thing he carried with canned heat. Little stove, he unfolded. And a canned heat in the bottom of it, a little cup in the top, and he'd throw the gelatin capsules in it, right, and heat that up, and he made it up right on the spot when he used it and threw the rest of the way. And there was no way to get a formula. How many of the capsules he used? I don't know. He just, right. And, but you know, another paint, you know, we were talking about where the hell can you get things that when you're in an area.
You flip that brush over too when you...
Same thing. Yeah, see, I just do it fast. You don't know, most people don't notice it. Yeah. Now, another paint that you can get by with, you know, if nothing else is, if any of the one-shot or some of the other stuff, if you can't find any of it, or the Ronins or some of them, is Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum works beautiful for striping. It's very slow drying though. So it isn't something that comes out of the shop in the same day. It takes a whole day to dry. But it works for me. I know some guys that use, well, Slimbo uses Rust-Oleum all the time, so I ever use it. Yeah. He loved it.
Well, it's dense, I know that. There's a lot of pigment in it.
Yeah. Got fish oil in it, see, that's why it don't rust. You never seen a rusty fish, did you? One of the things that, I don't know if it'll work on this paper or not. Let's try it. Let's see. All on that palette to me. But I sometimes found that I didn't like the idea of getting rid of the damn guidelines. So, you know, after the job was done.
Yeah.
And we used to use, you know, Scotch tape, but it got to where the damn Scotch tape is, but also, you didn't know how well somebody had prepared their paint job. And, you know, you put the Scotch tape on it and it tears the paint job off, you know, just what you wanted. Oh, disaster. Then what do you do? So this is one new thing finally that's good. This fine line. I love it. And so I use it a lot for, I don't know what it'll do with this paper, though. We shall see. It's got just enough tack to kind of tack. It doesn't stick super good.
What word are you going to put up there?
I mean, what did I see when I looked there?
Yeah.
Help.
No.
That's just what popped into my head. Now, then, tape is a great time saver.
About centering it or anything?
What?
That word.
No, I see it there. But there's other little tricks. There's other little tricks. No, I never think about that. I'll show you why if it don't work out. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it don't.
Absolutely. Letterheads, envelopes, Steve, I just said that printers take pride in every job they print.
This particular brush, which is one of my favorites, is actually that old.
It's now available at the Pinstriping. Just saying.
How old? That's one of your dad's?
One of my dad's brushes. Figure he died in '52. Fell off a ladder.
He fell off a ladder?
Fell off a ladder.
Remember the leisurely lunch and a 25-cent martini? If you lunch at the RothVon restaurant any Monday through Friday, you'll find those good old days are still going on. Choose marvelous fresh seafood, perhaps a great sandwich or salad. We'll serve it up with a sparkling view of the harbor and add an icy cold martini for just 25 cents more. More of what you want at the Lobster Trap Restaurant. And
Hey, see, the tape is a great sign. Great time. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's finally a new product that helps.
In your dad's time, they didn't have that much that kind of help, though, did they?
No, my dad used the Scotch tape a lot, though. Yeah, when he always liked it, but he did something that he went back and touched up the tops of all his S's and O's and stuff like that. Okay, now suppose we're not in the middle, right?
Yeah.
So, big deal. And of course, this is tearing this off this paper, but this gives us the idea of the use of the tape. And that they save a tremendous amount of time, you know, on the thing now. Okay, so you see it there. Uh-oh, something's the matter here. Well, now, especially if we happen to use the word help. A little trip, it just heals the whole thing up, right? It's in the middle now, right? It's known as faking it. That's how you fake it. That gets it in the middle. And so it clear up the line, too. Make this bigger. So you get the tape off, make it bigger. Boom. Then that gets her in the middle. In the middle, it's...
What kind of tape is that, my Dutch?
This is called Fine Line. Yeah, it's new. It's neat stuff. I love it. Comes in every thickness you want, and if you work on glass, I use Scotch tape. You know, doing a glass sign from the inside, I use the tape. Use Scotch tape. Works dandy. Sure saves the time. Now what a lot of guys, when they use the tape, it's hard to make a decent O or an S. There's just something the matter with it. They can do this quicker at home. Like you say, you're making an O. Well, if you really concentrate on it and don't go through the, you know, you always want to try to do that area and you want to stroke it if you possibly can. But like say you make an S. All right, we'll make an S, just a square one. Well, then what happens is you get this. You get this flat place, see? So you want to come back later. And even though this makes the S's slightly higher and the O's slightly higher as the other letters, it looks right in the mind. They should be a little higher. Just a hair. S's and O's. And
they look better optically.
Yeah.
Especially in the block letter.
And of course, you get then they get in the, you know, this is kind of shit to keep away from. Don't mess with that stuff.
Why?
Well, because you get hung up on it, and it's hard to read. And it's really easy to do, and it fools everybody. They think it's hard to do.
Where would a guy develop an alphabet like that?
This?
Yeah.
You can get one out of most of the old books. A single stroke thing like that. It's a modification of text.
What about your script? You never got that out of a book.
My script I did originally. I can do the legit script. Now I can break the rules.
Oh, I see. Do one of your scripts.
I modified it for speed. And also probably just some natural rebellion.
Gang, Big Daddy Roth here in Dutch, California, and while Dutch is working on his little three-wheel side hack over here, I'm going to sort of lay down the thing we're trying to do here today. You guys have been writing in and asking a lot about how Dutch holds his brush and that kind of stuff, and what kind of brushes he uses and all that stuff. And we're going to go over that with him today and try to find out how he started and how he got developed this thing. He's the man that started it all. And all you pinstripers out there, you might be too young to remember this, but Dutch is the guy that took that brush in his hand for the first time, and when we were nosing and decking those cars, and he'd start laying those lines down. So today we're going to talk to Dutch about that and see what kind of things he has to tell you about being a better pinstriper, and the things that you can do in your own place to help you yourself make great strides in your own work. Because you don't notice it yourself, but when you see a guy like Dutch do these things, then you can judge for yourself what you're doing wrong, how you can improve your own style. Okay, gang, here we are in Dutch's studio, and I've had so many guys write in, Dutch, about these things that I want to cover some of them before we get into doing anything with the brush. And the first thing is, tell me about that story about the first time you ever did a custom again.
Well, you mean a bike?
Yeah. No, the car.
Yeah. Well, I just seen this guy used to come into this car lot, and he used to charge $1 to stripe a car. And he'd do it in about 10 minutes, and he'd get $1, so he'd do about 5 cars, go out with $5, and I said, wow, that's, that's pretty neat. Yeah. He'll pick up $5 like that, because at that time, say, if you could do, nobody was making any money. That was the Depression. Yeah. So there was, that seemed like a good, beat washing dishes.
Okay, what about the first, those little chicken scratch designs you got in the hood and deck in the 50s?
Oh, that all came from covering scratches.
That came from actually
covering scratches. Guys that do a nose job and a deck job, then they get in a hurry on their preparation, and they put the paint on before the primer was good and dry, and all them scratches would come back, which happened. And I had a guy come in, and we were just outlining the wheel wells and stuff at that time. And this guy come in and he said, hey, can you do something with them scratches? So I put a line where there was a scratch. Then I put a line just like it where there was no scratch, and so forth and so on, and composed this thing that was all made like that. It covered scratches made from a circular grinder is all they did. And the form, the curves and everything in the form, that's all the curves of the body grinder. That's what established the whole form, was the scratches being made by a grinder.
So the guys
that cover up fuck-ups.
The guys that copied you did not know what they were copying.
No, they didn't know that originated, of course, in the idea of covering up scratches. But that's what it was, where it all originated. And everybody went wild. They loved it. They said, it's great, put one of them things on mine, right? Well, they ain't even got any scratches, right? But, I mean, that's where it all started. It all started from covering scratches.
Okay, now your background is from a sign painting family, right?
Oh, yeah. Everybody painted something.
Okay, and what did you do as a kid? Did you pick up your dad's brushes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did he show you what the...
No, he wouldn't. He'd say, you'll learn. Just keep practicing. No, he would never teach me nothing.
Did you ever believe you'd learn?
I didn't know. I just kept doing it. But it was available. The stuff was there. And the sign painting, of course, is similar. Although Dad never did any signs at all, ever. Or, I mean, any striping. He says, that's a specialty. I don't do that.
He's strictly a sign painter.
Yeah. And he was a superb gold leaf guy. Was probably one of the best that ever lived.
Yeah, I heard his reputation from guys.
Yeah, and just the gold leaf to him was just nothing to it, and it was fantastic. They used to farm him out from all the other shops just to do gold leaf. And he did a thing down at Frank Wiggins trade school in L.A., which had the sign painting school and everything in there. He painted the sign on the place, and it looks like it's carved into the brick building, and people go over and feel it all the time. Because it does. It looks like it's carved right into the building. Fantastic.
Well, now, what about these guys that don't have any kind of a background for sign painting stuff? How can they get started?
I think, first of all, you got to be able to draw. You've got to have control over your hands. If you don't have control over your hands, there you are. That's it. I mean, nowadays everybody's trying to say everyone's equal. Everybody ain't equal. Everybody's an individual. Everybody's different. Some people got a talent in one thing, some people got a talent in another. And if you can't draw or do things with your hands, forget it. You're not going to be a sign painter or a striper. Give it up.
What if you have a real bad desire to be one?
Well, then you might overcome it with endless practice.
How would you start?
Well, you've got to start out by, well,
What do you
first,
draw? What do you draw?
if you're going to get into science, you got to realize that the letter, you don't invent numbers, you don't invent letters. Those letters have already been here for hundreds of years. Nobody is so precious that they make a new letter. That's what my dad always said. He says, use the ones that are in the book. Learn how to make them. He says, then if you want to mess around and gussy them up and make them a little, do it, but learn how to do it right. Legit sign work first, then play with it. Most of the guys want to play with it right away.
Yeah.
And the thing with signs is that an amateur, someone who knows nothing about sign painting, can tell when there's something the matter with the sign. Everyone spots it.
Yeah.
Everyone sees, people who are not painters see an amateur sign. They know it's an amateur sign the minute they look at it. Because they don't use the out-of-the-book lettering. They try to invent letters. Also, they all have one tendency in common, which is really wild. Beginners always make tall, skinny letters. Always. And if you only concentrate on short, squatty letters, they look more professional. Amateurs invariably will make tall, skinny letters. Every time. Without fail. And you see it immediately.
So then what did you start drawing when you messing around? Did you draw airplanes? Did you draw cars? What did you draw?
I drew every kind of damn thing, because that's all I ever did in school was draw. I didn't do anything else. I never did any of the schoolwork at all when I was in school. All I did was draw. I sit there and draw. That's all I ever did. They didn't like it? Too bad. That's all I did was draw. Okay. And I draw the desk, I draw the wall, I draw the what was going on outside. Or in fact, I used to like to draw pictures of ink bottles. But I draw pictures of everything, and I think at one time I reached a point where maybe I had already drawn a picture of almost everything. So then I started making up stuff to draw, you know, inventing things. I could draw pictures of dinosaurs and, you know, and cars and bikes were nice, you know, motorcycles, because they've got all the mechanism out in the open, you know, they're all covered up with a bunch of tin. Yeah. And you can see everything on a bike. That's why bikes that are fared in never sell. They never have. Every time they try it, it's a failure. Or cars that look like airplanes never sell. Never. Yeah. We've got a whole history of cars that came out and looked like airplanes and never sold. Companies went out of business, like Studebaker and everybody else, that made a car look like an airplane.
So when somebody suggests a sign job to you, you've already got a picture of it in your head.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So then,
and I use a legit letter most of the time, except for, you know, the ones that you notice that I change for the sake of speed or whatever. Yeah. But you gotta know the legit letter first. Then you can play with it. And and there's books full.
Yeah,
but my dad said that nobody is so precious that they invent a letter.
I agree with that. These guys work for hundreds of years to develop that Roman alphabet.
Yeah, and all of a sudden this upstart's going to come along and change all that.
Yeah.
Well, with lettering, you're not covering up scratches. It's a different thing.
So to start with the sign, you've already got a picture of it in your head, right?
Yeah, I see the whole thing right there. Boom.
Okay.
That's why, if you'll notice, I never make layouts hardly ever.
You use guidelines?
I know sometimes I don't do that either.
Don't use guidelines?
No, I use tape a lot now. That's more convenient. Because a lot of times you have to figure out how to get the guideline off after you're done. The tape looks better. I just put some tape there and just stay close to it.
I think what I'd like to do is have you start out with the sign and show, you know, how the palette works and...
Yeah. It's all our palette.
Discussion of the palette,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's not as critical on the palette in signs as it is in striping. Striping, it's all on the palette. That's where it's at. And it's only practice. There's no way that you can transmit this information to somebody else. You couldn't do it. Because there's no dials to turn or anything and say you put 2 thousandths of this or 5 thousandths of that or so many grams. There's no information that you can transmit other than what we'll do.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just up to practice. There's another thing too, especially the striping, which I think is more so than the sign painting. When you're practicing striping, and if you're really into it, if it is not the most important thing in the world to you, you ain't gonna do it.
Okay, that's gonna...
It's got to become an obsession. It's got to become the most important thing to be able to make an absolutely perfect straight line like a machine made it.
Okay.
You've got to imitate a machine, and you've got to put your head into that, and it's very much like yoga. In fact, if you get deep into striping, you can actually go away and meditate while your body is striping. And the
So there's no room for drugs or...
no room at all. They don't work. They don't do anything.
Okay.
Good or bad. I mean, but bad because you'll wander off in your thinking. No.
No room for drugs of any kind.
No. It don't work. Just have nothing but a bad effect. Never a good one.
How about the guys that fool themselves and thinking they can smoke a joint or something and do some good work? Then when they come back later, look at it.
That's the big difference. I think that's the difference between drugs and booze. I think that's what the big difference is. Lots of guys, when they're drunk, think up a bunch of things, and the next morning they wake up and say, God, that was a dumb idea. But most of the dopers still think it was a good one. And it was dumb. Right? Yeah. Next day they look at it and they still think it's good.
What about the palette? I noticed you use a phone book all the time. Use that all the time?
No, I used to use anything but handy, but when I was doing an awful lot of the work, I needed lots of palettes, so that was just a convenience to use that. And there was something common to find, a phone book. Plenty of them around. Them little square buildings they got them in.
What kind of palette are you going to use today?
Well, I know we just use a piece of this cardboard. Probably just use this to look good as anything.
Okay.
And we'll get into where it all begins. In fact, as the striping is concerned, more so. See, I notice you don't palette a whole lot.
No.
Yeah. But see, to me, that's where it's all at.
But I'm not a good striper. I'm a speed striper.
Yeah.
I go to the agencies. You do good work. That's why I can't show them how I do it, because it's not the right way.
Well, I'm not sure whether mine's the right way either, because although it works, but I mean, see, when I first started striping, I had no one to learn it. I didn't even know what kind of brush to use. In fact, what happened was I seen the work on things. I said, some guy took a brush and he made a line on there. Now, how do you do that? So I got a quill, and I fought with a quill for years.
You did the chisel edge of a quill?
I used a small quill for striping.
Oh, boy.
And I didn't know any better. And finally I found out there was a special brush for that. And when I got that special brush, I mean, it was so easy with that, by having the right one. But I had no idea. I also didn't know what kind of paint anybody used. So I figured if you're doing cars, use car paint, right? So I used a regular lacquer like you paint cars with. And I fought that for years and years, and got to where I was doing them, until I ultimately ran into another striper, and we were talking about what we were using, and he says, lacquer? He says, how can you possibly use lacquer? And I said, don't everybody? I don't know no different. He says, it's impossible to do that in lacquer. So I said, well, what do you use? And he showed me the enamel that he was using, which happened to be at that time the one shot, which all they made was white. They didn't make any color.
Right, I remember that.
And it was so easy to do it with that compared to the lacquer that I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
How about that quill brush? You got pretty proficient at striping with the quill brush
Yeah,
before you went to the striping brush?
I got by with it.
And then when you finally got a striping brush, it just became real easy. Huh?
Yeah, I got by with a quill. I mean, I remember one of the first few jobs I did for that same car lot, they didn't like. They come out, that's terrible. Looks like the waves are in it.
Let's talk about thinners for a minute, and different striping weather. Use the same thinners when it's hot, when it's cold?
No, you got to adjust to that. Like right now, it's almost a little too cold for comfort, but it'd be perfect for striping. Because you don't want a lot of clothes on you when you're striping easy. It gets in your way. But in real hot weather, of course, it wants to dry too fast. So on the one shot, I just use a little teeny bit of oil in it, or kerosene either way, to slow it down. But you don't want to overtrain on it, or it'll never dry.
You say oil?
Take a motor oil.
Motor oil?
Regular normal motor oil. Stove comes out of the same hole in the ground.
Okay.
The kerosene works fine, but out here nowadays, you say kerosene and they go, "What's that?" They don't know what kerosene is anymore.
How about diesel oil?
That probably works too. Yeah, same hole in the ground.